Hello, guess who again? Travels with Dottie, Rob here, and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You can tell it's getting near December because it's like there's a little bit of a hint of a sunset happening. Anyway, I am headed into town to go to a restaurant I've wanted to try for a long time, the Wellhead, and it's definitely a Permian Basin oil business themed restaurant that has a really great reputation, and I'm going to be one of 16 people eating there. So that's my topic. How did I get invited to go to dinner with 15 other people? Am I a social butterfly that close friends often call me up and say, "Hey, Rob, you want to go out to dinner with us?" The answer is no, not usually. So how am I doing this? Well, in this case, where I live, people socialize and they do things like hey, we all want to go out to dinner at this restaurant Tuesday night. Here's a sign-up sheet. And it's 16 people, so I got in there and got signed up on it, and that is a very common thing in RV parks that aren't definitely transitory in nature. What do I mean by that? There are RV parks that, the average stay is probably 2 nights or something. There are off highways, things like that. But RV parks like in Quartzsite, and why I'm gearing this towards Quartzsite, because so many people watch these videos, my videos this time of year for Quartzsite content. And by the way, in less than 2 weeks, I will be in Quartzsite. And most of the RV parks are like that. They'll have a clubhouse, and they'll have potlucks there at the clubhouse, and they will also have sign-ups for going out to eat. Well, that doesn't help me if I'm boondocking, if I'm out on, BLM land or wherever. No, it doesn't help me. But I tell you what does. I have a prior video, which I'll make sure is one of the things you can click on at the end, about at least 2 camps that I'm aware of in the La Posa South long-term visitor area, Q Camp and the Spot. And I know a little bit more about the Spot than I do Q Camp because I spent a lot more time at the Spot. And the Spot's not going to be the only option. It's the only option in this kind of thing that I know about, and I don't know whether they're going to do it this year. But last year, and I think the year before, I think it was Wednesday night, they had a standing. We're all meeting at the Outback pizza place, which has a bar and karaoke. And you can go there, you can have a beer, you can order food, or you can just sit and drink sodas and listen to people karaoke, but it's a bunch of people from the camp go. And that is a common thing once you get sort of wired into that circle. How do you get wild? Watch the video that's going to be at the end if you want to know how to find those camps and how to join them. And how to join them. Finding them is the hard part. Joining them is the easy part, because there's no such thing as a group of people that can tell you can't camp with them. It's be a violation of the rules. You can camp anywhere you want on BLM land, as long as I think the rule is 15 feet away from your neighbor. And no one's got anything to say about it. But there are camps like Q Camp and the Spot that say, hey, we want people to come camp with us and be part of our community. The Spot has karaoke there at the Spot. They have kind of dance parties, they have potlucks, they have card games, they have all sorts of things going on, and I'm sure Q Camp has very similar things. The other thing is there's several Facebook pages for Quartzsite, and you can just search for Quartzsite, and you'll find the groups right away. And I recommend you just jump on the ones that have thousands of people. And you can actually do a post out there and say, hey, does anyone want to join a group to meet up and go out to dinner at Silly Al's Wednesday night? And I'll bet you'll get some takers. And you can coordinate the whole thing. And you don't have to be like they used to say when I was a kid, a social butterfly. You don't have to be a social butterfly to do that. So there are lots of options to make this kind of evening happen. And one of the beauties of doing these things is, like, everyone's pretty much driving separately. I mean, there could be on my thing tonight in theoretically similar things in Quartzsite. People sort of go separately, so when you feel like leaving, you just leave. You don't have to, like, be committed to staying at a thing until everybody wants to leave. You sort of come and go as you please. And people are pretty good about, when you big table and ordering, they'll tell the wait staff at least 10 times, separate checks, because no one likes to deal with 10 people that hardly know each other and a check in a $400 bill and try to collect from everybody at the table. That almost never works out well. But this is an important way to socialize, especially those of you, and there's a lot of us are introverts, and I've got Quartzsite for introverts. I'll put that at the end of this video too. You can watch that one. There are a lot of people that come to Quartzsite with fear about, how am I going to meet people? I don't like being around big crowds, and there's all kinds of things like that. And for some of you, going out to a dinner like this in a crowded restaurant may not be your cup of tea. And that's okay. There are other things that you can do. There are other events, and there are other ways to be around people other than that. But if you're okay with that, there are lots of ways to make that happen without having to say, I have 15 friends that know me well enough to call me up and invite me out to dinner. That doesn't happen. To me. Could it? Maybe you. But not me. So, probably, I'm going to guess that people at this dinner aren't going to want to star on YouTube, so I'm not going to show much inside the restaurant where we're sitting down and eating. What I anticipate is I'm going to show us pulling up to show you what the outside looks like. I'll keep my phone close to my chest and show walking in and what the inside of the restaurant looks like. And then I'll probably do a shot of the menu, and at the very least show you the dish that I ordered, and I'll tell you what it's like. And I may ask people around me, hey, is it okay if I shoot video of what you got? And maybe they'll say off camera something about it. I don't know. We'll see. And anyway, I'm getting very excited about getting to Quartzsite. The days seem to be ticking away fast, and as Ken pointed out in the comments, I think a couple of days ago, that you can always tell when it's getting close to Quartzsite time, because I get more and more excited and enthusiastic about it. Likewise, when it's time to go to Eagle Nest or time to come back here, this 3-month block is, at this point in my Nomad life, is perfect for me. Right at about the 3-month mark, I get restless for a different experience. So I move every 3 months, and generally it's like it'll be December, January, February, then March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. There's a little bit of sliding around those, but definitely I'm on a quarter system. I was on a quarter system in college at Northeastern University. You didn't get really summers off other than the first summer. Then you went into quarters where you would alternate doing a work study thing for 3 months, and then you would come to school for 3 months, and then it would rotate like that for a year, and then you would do a 6-month academic classes, and then 6-month work, and then back to the quarterly. It was a pretty neat system. And I think, if I remember right, when you were in class for 6 months, it was still, the whole school was on quarters. So you do 2 quarters back to back. But I got used to that nice mix. It was pretty cool. I liked it. And I've that was back in, entered there in 1977 and graduated in 1982. And that I still like that sort of, that kind of pace and change. Always liked that. People keep asking, and I keep answering, and that's okay. I'll keep answering this question. Why are you going, after all these years, why are you going to stay in town in an RV park and staying instead of boondocking in the desert? And it's not a real simple answer. One big rationalization for it is I want to do a season of YouTube videos for sure. I think this would be valuable. Say, this is what it costs and what it's like to do a winter season in Quartzsite in an RV park living in town, because I think it's going to be very different. And the other reason was I just felt like it. I don't have a better reason than like that. I said, I looked at the price, and I'll tell you what the price was right now. And it's not the highest end RV park in Quartzsite, but it's on the upper end, right? There are 50 of them, and it's not the most expensive. I think it's not directly in the middle. I think it's between the middle and the top. But still, I find it very reasonable. I'm booking 3 months, and you'll find in Quartzsite, the more time you're able to book, the better the deal they cut you. So it's $1,000 for 3 months, December, January, February, and that's through peak time, right? Peak time is definitely, that's the center of it is January, but that's peak. So what's that? $333 a month with full hookups. You do have to pay electricity, but electricity, I know it's the desert, but it's the winter in the desert. You're not running your AC, probably at all. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 days at the end of February, but I sincerely doubt it. And I think you can only get, maybe if you decide you're going to just run electric heat the whole time, you might have, I think you might pay $100 a month. But if you're running, like I plan on running my propane furnace, so I'll be spending probably, 40, 50, maybe at the most $40 or $50 a month on propane, between hot water and heat and stove and stuff. I'd be really surprised if it's more than $70 or $80 a month, but I don't know, and that's one of the things I'll find out and report on. But still, let's go crazy and say it's $100. That's be $433 a month, and that's a pretty good price for an RV park, for a nice RV park. And I am staying in a nice RV park, and I'm not trying. I didn't see any point in trying to hide. Like, I don't say where my home base is, but in this case, I'm not hiding where I'm staying. I'm Arizona Sun, so why don't I? If I hide my location here, why am I not doing it in Quartzsite? This Quartzsite's so small, it will become pretty obvious where I am. My rig and my truck, everything very recognizable. It's a very busy RV park. People are going to see it, and I'm just like, why try to hide it? So that's where I'm going to be. So all that I ask is, if you're in the RV park or you come through, if I'm outdoors, by all means, stop and say hi. But please, please don't come up and knock on my trailer door. And the reason I say this is that, in particular, last year as my channel's grown, it happened many, many times just when I was boondocking, and people did figure out where I was boondocking, and, you know, and they would come out and knock on my door, and it's a little disconcerting when someone drives up that you don't know, and you really can't tell looking out whether their facial expressions or body language, until you open the door and figure out, is this a friend or a foe? Because I get some pretty nasty stuff that you don't see from people. That what I do and what I say makes some people angry. It's just the nature of YouTube. Also, I like to take a nap during the day, and I've been woken up from my nap more than once. And I just like my peace inside. But if you see me outside, I'll pull up. Hopefully I'll have a chair for you. If you see me in town anywhere, do not hesitate to say hi and introduce yourself. Don't say, oh, he's busy. I'm not busy. I'm retired. I'm not busy. I'm fine. I'm like having fun. And if you watch my videos, one of the reasons I like it when it's really crowded in Quartzsite and you stand in line for a long time in like the dollar store, people go, are you crazy? No, to me, it's an opportunity to meet new people. I meet people in line. So I love meeting people when I'm out and about, running errands, doing stuff. You know, you see me at the beer bellies with friends sitting at a table. Don't hesitate to come up, introduce yourself. That's fine. I'd love to meet you. But just please don't knock on my trailer door. That's all I ask. All right, we are here. That was it on the right. And we are going to see if we can find a nice little place to park right here. I see handicap spots, and for a while I qualified. Before I had my hip replacement, I had a doctor that filled out a form for me to have a one of those tags. I never got it though, because first the DMV sent it back and said they filled out something wrong. You got to start all over again, and it was weeks. And I was by that time I was so close to having the surgery that what the hell. And now, of course, I don't need it at all and wouldn't qualify. So I'll walk you in there. So here we are in beautiful downtown Artesia, and I believe there's a back door that we're going to be able to go in. Well, the people going in are people that I know, part of our group, and it says pub entrance there. And this is the building. It looks like there's an outdoor area that's not being used right now, but check it out. Pretty nice. The Wellhead Restaurant and Brew Pub. Nice building. I like these old downtown buildings. And here we are. I
think they're over on the other side.
Oh, yeah. And over on the other side, she said.
go get shit done. It doesn't matter. If I want to be alone, I have to.
What's that?
Fish and chips.
Fish and chips, and that is
Fried catfish.
and that is blackened something. Blackened
Catfish.
catfish. Look at those burgers.
Did you get everyone harder with you?
And mine's coming. It's a blank spot right now. And there is my steak sandwich with fries. Well, let me tell you, folks, it was a delightful evening. And you look outside there and you'd think it's midnight. I assure you it's not. It is, it's not even 6 o'clock yet. It's 5:54. And, boy, it looks terrible. The view. Hang on a second. It's I thought it was the lens. It's not the lens. It's the windshield. That's a little better, huh? Well, I find it kind of funny that it's this friggin' dark, and it's not even 6 p.m. I feel like it's time for bed, for heaven's sake. Oh, so that was very enjoyable. I had the steak sandwich, and very good steak. But I gotta tell you, as I'm eating the steak, it's tasting saltier and everything. And it's not, it wasn't, I don't think it was overly salted. I think for some reason, my sensitivity to salt has gotten very acute lately. I don't know, I don't understand why. But everything to me tastes very salty. I have no idea what that means, if it means anything at all. But I am not heading directly home. Why, you say? Well, if I don't go right now and buy cat food, I will be in very serious trouble with George tomorrow morning, because what I gave George for dinner tonight was the very last of the cat food. And I wouldn't mind buying some. I noticed I had one slice of American cheese left. So a package of cheese and a bag of cat food that's the mission right now. But boy, we really had a good time, and it was, and as you can tell from the dishes that I showed you, it was an excellent excellent meal. Not only beautiful, but friendly and efficient waitress. I can't remember her name, or I would give her a shout out. But I highly recommend the Wellhead Restaurant. And I don't drink, but the people there that were sampling the various different kinds of ales spoke highly of it as well. So, but there were 20 of us, actually, not 16. There were 20 of us, and 2 big tables, and everyone universally was pleased with their meal. So yes, I am headed down here to Fenn's, the grocery store. To get those 2 things, and I will head home. And it doesn't seem like it should be this dark this early, just in halfway through November, but it is. It is, what is it they say? It is what it is. I think that's the way of saying whatever you're confronted with, if you can't alter it, learn to live with it. Oh, you know what? It might be. Is it closed? It might be. No, it can't be closed. Unless it closes at 6. Is it possible that this closes at 6? I wouldn't think they'd close at 6. I see people walking in. It's not closed. I don't drive at night very much anymore. This is unusual for me. I will be right back. So, as George is getting older, George is my cat, if you're not a regular. As George is getting older, I'm buying much higher quality food. And what the research tells me is a good thing to buy is this. It's called Blue Buffalo. And much to my surprise, I guess in the past maybe I've bought it and it's been with a lot of groceries, so I haven't really paid attention. It's $37. $37 for cat food. And you know, and Dottie gets homemade 93% lean ground beef and vegetables, so that's pretty. I'm spending a lot of money on those two little critters. But I'm happy to. I really am. I put on the GPS to go home, which I never do anymore, but it's at night and the landmarks look different. And but I think it's kind of pretty going through town with the lights. I haven't done this yet, so I'm not gonna hang up. I'm gonna keep going with you. I've got one little light inside so you can see my face in the corner. I think I did this Starbucks up here on the right. I did go in there one day on a Sunday when my regular coffee shop was closed, the local one. So I went in there. It was okay, but I'd rather go to the local one for sure. Kithkin, it's called. Kithkin. It's on 5th Street. I had this debate with a viewer in the comments, and I finally I hid the whole thing because it got ridiculous. I think in one of my recent videos, I was talking about energy and, you know, because we're in the Permian Basin here and oil is a big deal. And I was talking about dependence on oil. And it was a woman, and she got on there and said, well, you're in the wrong state for renewable energy. And I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? And I went and double checked, and New Mexico is in like the top 5. And I responded to that, and I said, well, I think you're mistaken about New Mexico. We're in the top 5. And then she goes on ignores that and goes on about how University of California, Berkeley is the cutting edge on fusion, nuclear fusion. as if that's a new thing, which it certainly is not. And she said in New Mexico is something like, it's too poor to have resources like that. And I'm like, okay, do you know what Los Alamos is, where it is, and what they do? And she says, I'm fully aware of what Los Alamos does, and it's nothing to do with what Berkeley nuclear fusion. And I'm like, I'm sorry, she couldn't have been more wrong. What Berkeley does with nuclear fusion is very academic and theoretical, and Los Alamos is more practical research on practical and industrial uses of fusion, nuclear fusion. So, and I just find, and so as I was answering her, I was giving her links to look at, like the Los Alamos ad. There was a Reuters article, and she just would not accept that. And she was from California, so she was like, California is the best at all this, and renewable energy. They've got the highest percentage of renewable energy, and I'm sure they do, but it doesn't mean New Mexico doesn't have any value in this. They have a lot of value. The other thing in doing research on this, when people talk about ratings of states or areas for renewable energy, what they're talking about is renewable energy as a percent of electrical use in the state. And like if you look at, and my whole thing originally was about crude oil, right, and our dependence on that. And the use of crude oil to produce electric on the electric grid is very, very, very small. It's minuscule. It's been forever. But anyway, I wanted to have one. I'm always concerned when people make sort of sweeping statements that aren't true in the comments, and instead of just knee-jerking, removing them or ignoring them, I don't like to just ignore them, because I don't want people to look at the comments and get bad information. So generally what I do is I double check my sources, and I'll usually respond as nicely as I can and say, hey, I think if you look at this, and I'll give a link. And finally it became obvious that she was going to completely ignore every argument and every link I sent her. So I finally said, just please stop. And I blocked her from commenting. And the interesting thing about that is when you do that, well, that's everything went sort of lost the focus. It's back now. When you do that, they don't know it. They can still see their comments and my responses, and they think everything's hunky-dory. But in reality, it's what they call hidden from the channel. So their comments and even my responses are just, they're not visible to anyone, including me. And the only people that can see it are them. The only way they could tell that anything's amiss is if they used another YouTube account and went and looked at the comments, they'd see that their comments are missing. Which is a good thing, because I don't want to get people upset. And so it still could be, she still could be piling on and adding on to the comments. But I think it's an example of, I think it's called the Kruger-Dunn effect, where people are unaware of what they don't know. So by extension, they think that they know a lot. Intelligent people don't approach things that way. They approach things from the what I call the I could be wrong standpoint, where if I like to think I'm in that camp, and if that Kruger-Dunn theory, unfortunately, would say if I'm in the not very smart and not know it category, I wouldn't know it. So who knows? But anyway, I like to think I'm in the category, is when I get challenged, especially in the comments or something that I say in a video, I double check where I got my information from. And hopefully if I didn't do research, and when I say something I'm not pretty sure of, I usually say, I'm not sure of this. I think, when I finish my sentence, versus making a statement as if the statement is factual. So I guess the iPhone, this is the iPhone I'm recording with, I guess it doesn't do that well on focusing when in the dark, when there's like headlights and of various intensity. I don't think it does very well on the automatic focus. That's okay. You can see me, right? And you can see I'm just driving at night. So, I don't know how, I have no idea. I have no memory of how I got onto this topic. I think it was just it was on my mind. I was frustrated by it because it started off as kind of a nice thing, and I thought maybe I could teach someone about some things in Mexico that people don't expect. It's not a high income per capita state for sure, but they do some pretty remarkable things. And the state doesn't fund Los Alamos. It's the government, the federal government funds it, but it's still in New Mexico. They're still doing cutting edge stuff in New Mexico, regardless of who funds it. And the use of, if you go to any independent source and say, give me the state ranking on renewables, it's going to appear definitely in almost every case in the top 5, definitely in the top 10. So it's, and also they just passed in New Mexico that under a certain income level, childcare is going to be free if you're a New Mexico resident, which is a big deal. I think it's going to be a big deal for the economy. It's going to free up a lot of families, a lot of mothers, in some cases fathers, to get out into the workplace without maybe having to work 2 jobs, because it costs so much for childcare, especially with multiple kids. I think that's a huge thing, and I'm very curious to see how that's going to work out for the state long term. I suspect it's going to work out very well. So I really like a lot of what goes on in the state of New Mexico, and I certainly love the whole state in terms of the amazing diversity and beauty of deserts and mountains and canyons and history, rich history. I love New Mexico. And I love Arizona too. Arizona's great too. So the 2 states that right now in this stage of my life that I'm spending time in are 9 months out of the year is in a couple of places in New Mexico, here in Artesia, and up in Eagle Nest, up in northern New Mexico in the mountains. And the other 3 months are in Quartzsite, Arizona. One of my favorite places other than Quartzsite is Tombstone. I just love that Wyatt Earp story, and I love visiting Tombstone. there's, you could call it a tourist trap, but it's a pretty pleasant trap as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, I think it's pretty boring watching headlights come at me, and I'm out of anything I think interesting to say. So I'm going to sign off here and I'm almost home. See you tomorrow.